The corridor is under attack. Suwalki Gap targeted. 65 kilometers connecting Baltics to NATO. Russia strikes simultaneously. Iskander missiles inbound. Kalibr cruise missiles following. This is not exercise. This is severing NATO. 04:17 AM local time. First Iskander impacts. Bridge over Zarna Hansa destroyed. Concrete spans collapse into water. Second bridge hits simultaneously. Highway E67 cut completely. Third strike targets rail line. Track ripped apart for kilometers. Transportation corridor eliminated. 6 minutes total. Skyfall Warfare tracks the assault. Polish F-16s scramble desperately. Malberg Air Base launches interceptors. But S-400 from Kaliningrad active. Engagement zone extends 100 kilometers. Polish fighters enter missile range. Warning tones scream in cockpits. Pilots forced to withdraw. Cannot penetrate air defense umbrella. Ground attack impossible. Close air support denied. NATO forces watch helplessly as corridor collapses systematically. What caused the most damage? A. Iskander strikes. B. S-400 denial. C. Geographic choke point. 04:31 AM Kalibr missiles arrive. Launched from Baltic fleet. Target Polish logistics hubs. Elk supply depot hit directly. Ammunition stocks explode. Secondary blasts continue minutes. Suwalki supply warehouse destroyed. Fuel storage tanks burning. Black smoke visible from Lithuania. NATO reinforcement supplies eliminated. No ammunition moving forward. No fuel reaching units. Baltic states effectively isolated. 30,000 troops cut off. Resupply options extremely limited. Airlift insufficient for needs. Sea routes vulnerable to interdiction. The trap closes rapidly. Skyfall Warfare documents the crisis. The Suwalki Gap represents NATO's most critical geographic vulnerability, where 65 kilometers of Polish territory between Kaliningrad and Belarus creates a choke point that, if severed, would completely isolate the Baltic states from alliance reinforcement, making them strategically indefensible without triggering full-scale war to reopen the corridor. 053 AM drone swarms deploy. 50 Lancet kamikaze drones. Target NATO vehicle columns. Polish mechanized brigade moving north, attempting to secure corridor. Drones dive from altitude. First Bradley destroyed instantly. Second vehicle hit seconds later. Convoy stops immediately. Cannot advance under attack. Cannot retreat safely. Sitting targets on highway. More drones circling overhead. Soldiers abandon vehicles. Seek cover in forests. Equipment left burning. Mission aborted completely. Gap remains severed. Lithuanian border 40 kilometers away. Might as well be 400. The distance is uncrossable. New strike wave confirmed. More launches detected. 05:29 AM Lithuanian airspace penetrated. Russian helicopters cross border. Ka-52 attack helicopters. Mi-24 gunships following. Flying Napavert profile. Terrain masking radar detection. NASAMS tries to engage. Missiles fired at maximum range. 2 helicopters destroyed. 3 others evade successfully. They strike Lithuanian border posts. Anti-tank missiles eliminate vehicles. Machine guns suppress defenders, creating chaos at frontier. Meanwhile, ground forces mobilize. Belarusian units move toward border, not crossing yet, just positioning threateningly. Pressure on multiple fronts. Lithuania facing encirclement. Which system failed first? A. Polish air support. B. Bridge defenses. C. NATO coordination. 06:14 AM NATO emergency session. Article 4 consultation invoked. Poland requests immediate assistance. Lithuania demands reinforcement. Latvia and Estonia watching nervously. Supreme Allied Commander assesses options. Reopen corridor requires major offensive. against prepared Russian positions. S-400 coverage denies airspace. Ground assault extremely costly. Could trigger wider war. Russian nuclear threats expected. Escalation spiral probable. Yet abandoning Baltics unthinkable. Alliance credibility destroyed. Deterrence collapses completely. Either way, NATO loses. Perfect strategic dilemma. Skyfall Warfare analyzes paralysis. American assets mobilize. Carrier strike group repositions. B-52 bombers placed alert. Stealth fighters prepare. But deployment takes time. Days minimum for positioning. Meanwhile, gap remains cut. Baltic states isolated. Russian pressure mounting. Clock working against NATO. Every hour corridor closed. Strengthens Russian position. Reinforces defensive positions. Brings in more troops. Makes reopening harder. The operational window closing. 0723. AM infrastructure assessment. 4 bridges destroyed completely. Rail line cut 7 locations. Highway cratered extensively. Power lines down. Communications towers eliminated. Pipeline damaged multiple points. Repair timeline measured weeks, under ideal conditions, which these are not. Russian artillery range covers area. Any repair crews targeted. Engineers need protection. That requires securing corridor, which requires military operation. Catch-22 situation. Cannot repair without security. Cannot secure without reinforcement. Cannot reinforce without repairs. Is air defense collapse inevitable here? Comment Y or N. The strategic calculation reveals how geographic constraints can overwhelm military capability, where NATO possesses superior forces but cannot effectively deploy them through a contested 65-kilometer corridor covered by Russian air defense and precision fires, creating a situation where tactical defeats produce strategic paralysis, regardless of overall alliance strength. EO 811, AM economic impact spreading. Vilnius stock market crashes. Lithuanian currency falling. Latvian banks restrict withdrawals. Estonian government bonds downgraded. Regional economy in freefall. International investors fleeing. Nobody wants Baltic exposure. Isolation breeds economic death. Supply chains severed. Trade routes blocked. Ports cannot operate. Airports under threat. Tourism industry collapsing. Business confidence destroyed. GDP projections catastrophic. All from 6 hours. All from 65 kilometers. Geographic reality dominates. Skyfall Warfare tracks contagion. Polish government faces crisis. Opposition demands action. Public protests in Warsaw. Calls to reopen corridor. Accusations of weakness. Coalition government fracturing. Defense minister under pressure. Prime Minister addressing Parliament. Promises to restore connection. But how remains unclear. Military options limited. Diplomatic solutions unlikely. Russia not negotiating. Achieve strategic objective. Why compromise now? Poland trapped politically. Cannot act decisively. Cannot appear weak. The dilemma paralyzes. If you follow high-intensity air wars type, Skyfall. 0947, AM humanitarian concerns emerge. Baltic populations increasingly anxious. Grocery shelves emptying. Fuel stations limiting sales. Pharmacies rationing medicines. Panic buying accelerates. Government reassures public. Stockpiles claimed adequate. For 30 days, supply. But what then? Resupply options limited. Airlift cannot sustain millions. Sea routes remain vulnerable. Russian naval forces active. Blockade remains possible. Population feels abandoned. NATO promises ring hollow when corridor stays closed. The psychological impact mounting. Social cohesion straining. Some advocate accommodation. Others demand resistance. Society dividing under pressure. 1034. AM military realities harden. Russian forces digging in. Defensive positions fortified. Anti-aircraft systems deployed. Electronic warfare active. Artillery pre-registered on approaches. Anti-tank mines laid extensively. Infantry positions prepared. This is not temporary seizure. This is permanent control. NATO reconnaissance confirms assessment. Satellite imagery shows construction. Defensive works expanding. Supply convoys arriving. Troop rotations beginning. Logistics establishing. Command posts erected. This becomes new normal. Unless NATO acts decisively, which seems increasingly unlikely, the moment passes. What breaks next in this conflict? Comment below. Skyfall Warfare asked which system failed first. Answer: C. NATO coordination. The alliance lacked pre-positioned defensive systems protecting critical bridges in the Suwalki Gap. No integrated air defense covered the corridor adequately. No rapid reaction forces positioned close enough. Coordination between Polish and Lithuanian defenses insufficient. Early warning systems failed to provide adequate notice. By the time NATO responded, the corridor was already severed. The organizational failure preceded tactical failures. Modern warfare demands integrated systems. NATO discovered gaps in integration, literally and figuratively. Can defenses recover here? Not without major military operation. Reopening corridor requires combined arms offensive. Air superiority must be established. S-400 systems must be suppressed. ZAD missions flown extensively. Stealth aircraft eliminate radars. Wild Weasel missions critical. Ground forces advance under cover. Engineering units repair infrastructure, all while under fire. Casualties would be significant. Success not guaranteed. Time required measured weeks. Political will questionable. European populations war-weary. Appetite for casualties limited. Russia knows this. Exploits Western weakness. Is escalation now unavoidable? Baltic isolation cannot stand. NATO credibility requires response. But military action risks wider war. Russian nuclear doctrine ambiguous. Tactical weapons possible. Against NATO forces. Threshold unknowable. Yet inaction equally dangerous. Alliance collapses without credibility. Deterrence requires demonstration. Must show willingness to fight, even at high cost. The logic drives escalation. Despite enormous risks, what target comes next? Kaliningrad becomes obvious. NATO must neutralize threat. S-400 systems there must be eliminated. Allow air operations. Over Suwalki Gap. Strikes would be extensive. Cruise missiles first, followed by air campaign, then ground offensive to reopen corridor. But attacking Kaliningrad means attacking Russia proper, not proxy war, direct conflict. Article 5 versus Russian territorial defense. The stakes astronomical. Skyfall Warfare sees trajectory. The Suwalki scenario demonstrates vulnerability of extended deterrence. When geography favors adversary. When political will questionable. When response time insufficient. Defender disadvantage. Attacker chooses moment. Achieves surprise. Presents fait accompli. Defender must accept or escalate dramatically. No middle options. Binary choice imposed. Accept strategic defeat or risk wider war. Neither acceptable, both possible. The dilemma defines modern great power competition, where nuclear weapons prevent decisive victory but allow incremental gains. Salami tactics succeed because full response risks annihilation. So slices taken one at a time until nothing remains. The Suwalki Gap, just one slice, but critical piece of NATO integrity. Once cut, alliance cohesion. Questions arise. If Baltics abandoned, what about Poland? What about Germany? Where does defense actually begin? The erosion starts. Subscribe to Skyfall Warfare when the sky starts falling.